Hi, and welcome back to Free Maths Lessons. This is the final part of the two-part video on the laws of indices. In this part, we will look at the higher tier content, which involves the basic laws of indices, as well as fractional indices. From the previous video, you learned the 4 basic laws of indices, which were about adding, subtracting, multiplying powers and powers of 0. For higher tier, you are required to know those laws, but apply them to harder questions, which can involve multiple bases and coefficients. As a final example, we'll also look at raising a power to a power. Here is the example: 3a squared b, all raised to the power of 3. Now, the power of 3 outside the bracket applies to each number and letter, so what's really happening is this, which results in a final answer of 27a to the power of 6, b to the power of 3. Now try these practice questions based on the basic laws of indices. There are 4 of them. Now here are the answers to the practice questions. For question 1, it's 4x to the power of 6, y to the power of 3. For question 2, it's 3a to the power of -1, b to the power of 2. For question 3, it's 32y to the power of 20, z to the power of 10. For question 4, it's 1/8 n to the power of -3. Now let's move on to negative powers. Previously, we saw that negative powers are fractions. To simplify them fully, we take the reciprocal, and turn the power positive, and simplify from there. As an example, 5 to the power of -3, we can put it into a fraction of 1 over 5 to the power of 3, and simplify it to 1 over 125. However, what if you had a fraction to a negative power, instead of a letter or a whole number? To take the reciprocal of a fraction, you simply flip it, or invert it. We have an example of 4/5 to the power of -2. First, we flip it, and becomes 5 over 4. Then, we square the numerator and denominator to get 25 over 16. When doing this, don't forget to turn the power positive after flipping the fraction. Now, try these practice questions. Convert these numbers and negative powers to fractions. You do not need to leave it as a mixed number. Now, here are the answers to the questions. For question 1, it's 1 over 216. For question 2, it's 9 over 4. For question 3, it's 1 over 81. For question 4, it's 5 over 6. The steps show how to get to the answer. Now let's move on to fractional powers. You may want to return to this section a few times as it is a common hard topic. Firstly, let's use 9 as our base. We know that 9 to the power of 0 is 1, and 9 to the power of 1 is 9. From the law of multiplying and adding indices, we also know that 9 to the power of a half, multiplied by 9 to the power of a half is 9 to the power of 1, which is 9. This means 9 to the power of a half is 3 because 3 times 3 is 9. This means fractional powers are roots of a number. Here are 2 examples below. You may have also noticed that the previous fractional powers were in the form of 1 over x, 1 divided by something. What if a different numerator was used for the power, like a power of 2/3? In this case, we calculate the root, and then apply the power. In the example of a power of 2/3, you find the cube root or third root, and then square it. Now let's move on to some slightly harder content. Like applying powers to fractions, the root applies to both the numerator and the denominator. Don't also forget that if the fractional power is negative, you have to flip the fraction. Here is an example below. We have 27 over 125, to the power of -2 over 3. First, we can flip the fraction and make the power positive. Then, we take the cube root of the numerator and denominator, ending up with 5 over 3. Finally, we square both of them to end up with 25 over 9. Now we have 3 practice questions to try. Question 1 is 64 to the power of -1/2, followed by question 2, 1/8 to the power of minus 1/3, and finally 16/36 to the power of minus 3/2. Pause the video to try them. Now we have the answers to the questions. Don't worry if you found them hard, this is a difficult topic. For question 1, the answer is 1/8. For question 2, it's 2. For question 3, it's 216/64. Now you should be able to know and calculate with the basic laws of indices, as well as understanding and calculating with fractional powers, sometimes with negative powers as well.